You know, some people out there, when they talk, they fake the funk. You want brutally honest? Well, if you want brutally honest, look no further than CG Ruthless Sports.
CG Ruthless.
CG Ruthless Sports.
CG Ruthless.
If you want your sports talk to be brutally honest, come check out CG.
CG Ruthless.
If you're not watching CG Ruthless, I don't know what to tell you. Representing the Niner Empire.
CG Ruthless.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Cardinal Rule.
Hey, what's going on?
Doing good, man. So tell everybody else that are not familiar with your channel where they can find you at.
Yeah, so I've got a YouTube channel called the Cardinal Rule. Hopefully I think the link's down below, but I do Arizona Cardinals content, do a lot of different kinds of things, game reactions, live streams, but also some deep dive videos where I kind of get into the stats. And if you go to my YouTube channel, my social media links are on there, like Twitter and Instagram. So yeah, if you haven't checked out my channel, please consider doing so.
Yeah, it's right down in the description if you guys want to find his channel. Let's debate about the matchup of the Niners versus Cardinals. Like, which is your most intriguing matchup you're looking forward to this week?
Well, the most intriguing matchup right now is Kyler Murray versus his injured ankle, because is he going to play, and if he is he going to be healthy? But in terms of between the two teams, really the matchup that I'm most interested in is probably the Niners defense versus the Cardinals offense. Going into the first matchup, the Cardinals had been scoring 30 points or more every game. They were one of the top two offenses in the league. And going into the Niners game, the first game, I expected that the Cardinals offense would continue to put up 30 plus points, and we saw what happened. It was like 17 points, and kudos to Shanahan, D'Amico Ryans. Really kudos to D'Amico Ryans for having a game plan and executing it, and the players for executing it that did a good job slowing down the Cardinals offense. So, but the Cardinals, have shown that they put up points in every other game. They put up at least 20 points. And the Green Bay game was one of that, and the Niners game, the only two where they put up less than 30. So can the Niners hold them to that again? Now, I know a lot of Niners fans are going to say, yeah, we can do it. But if you watch enough football, you know that from one game to the next, things change. Like, when our teams play, divisional rivals play over the season, more often than not, one game to the next does not play out the same way. Different things happen, right? So if the Niners can keep the Cardinals offense, slow it down like they did last time, and with the injuries to Kyler and other players, that's a possibility, then it could be a really close game. Obviously, as a Cardinals fan, I'm hoping the Cardinals offense goes back to form and shows that, that first game was a blip. But to me, yeah, the Niners defense and the Cardinals offense is probably the biggest matchup I'm really interested in seeing.
Yeah, the previous matchup was like a very good game, but it can change this time around. So it's like to make it fair for you guys, we haven't played good at home, so that could be your advantage right there. But yeah, when you look at the matchup, there's been talks that you might not even have DeAndre Hopkins out there. Is any truth to that?
Well, he hasn't practiced this week. He's got the hamstring injury that, he played some against in the Packers game, but didn't play a lot. They kind of kept him out of the game for most of the game. So it's possible. It's a possibility. Hopkins is one of those guys, though, throughout his career, he has a history of, like resting during not practicing, nagging injuries, but then playing, right? So I think there's a good chance he'll play, but he could be limited. And AJ Green is currently on the COVID list, so that adds another layer to that. the Cardinals receiving core has been very deep this year. They've been throwing it to everyone. They've been spreading the wealth. So under normal circumstances, like one receiver out, even Hopkins doesn't necessarily completely handicap this offense because they haven't been just focusing on Hopkins. They've got Zach Ertz, AJ Green, Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore. All these receivers have had good games. But if AJ Green and DeAndre Hopkins are both out, then it starts to pile up, and you then start to worry, they still have players who can make plays. But when you get two of your outside receivers out, then that starts to, really kind of thin out that receiving core a bit.
Yeah, because if those two are out, you've seen what you can get from Rondale Moore and Christian Kirk when the opportunity presents itself. The tight end, Zach Ertz, you guys brought him in for a reason, so he should be able to be a big impact to your guys' offense if it comes down to of your two receivers out. So that might be your X factor, Zach Ertz.
Yeah, could be. He could be in for a big game, as same with Christian Kirk too, right?
Oh, yeah, Christian Kirk has been known to make some big plays from time to time, and he's a really solid number 3 receiver if you put him in the slot, or maybe he could be your number 2.
Yeah, he's definitely been better in the slot. That's where he's better suited. So, if Green is out, well, Green's likely to be out. I wouldn't necessarily expect them to move, Christian Kirk to the outside. They'll probably play, the backup Antoine Wesley. And if Hopkins is out too, then Andy Isabella might be in for some snaps. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, especially the guy that you just mentioned, Andy Isabella, man. Like, what was the last time he ever made a big play against us? And I don't know what he's done since. So it's like, what have you done lately, Andy Isabella?
He's only played special teams this year. I mean, obviously, last year I think it was he had a really big play against the Niners that I'm sure you remember. But he's been a disappointment overall. He's had a couple big plays, but he hasn't seen the field really this year other than special teams.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I guess he would have to be the difference maker on special teams. Does he return the kicks?
No, he hasn't even been a difference maker. He's just been a guy on special teams. He really hasn't done much this year. In fact, some people thought maybe we were going to trade him before the trade deadline. That didn't happen. So he's really a guy who's kind of buried in the depth chart for now. We'll see if they play him with the injuries this week, but he's been a non-factor really.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's kind of hard when you're behind the depth chart. Yeah, usually that's what happens with a lot of these players that were highly drafted and then are behind the depth chart. So it's like either their performance are not that good or they're not impressing the coaching staff enough. So that could be the case. But when I look at this matchup that I'm more interested of seeing is your defense versus our running backs. I think if you guys can prove that you guys can make a stop on our running game, then maybe this could be a different game. But if I've seen what I've seen from you guys' run defense, like the Packers were able to do it, why not the 49ers? We were able to do it against the Bears. Maybe it's a good chance that maybe we could do that. But what do you think of those concerning factors that your defense is ranked like as far as like the bottom last or almost like, what is it, 29th or 30th against the run?
I did a whole video on the Cardinals run defense this week. So, I definitely encourage, folks to check it out because I do a really deep dive into the stats and look at the film and what's gone on with that. And the short version is this, like the Cardinals haven't been great against the run, but when they put 8 men in the box, they've been pretty good. When they put 8 defenders in the box, they've been holding other teams to 1.7 yards per carry. But when they have 6 men in the box, they're giving up 6 yards a carry. But the Cardinals have kind of done that strategically because what they've been doing is they haven't been stacking the box very much. Although the game against the Niners, they had 8 men in the box more than any other game this year, like 45% of the time. But what they've been doing is they'll let you get some rushing yards, but when it gets to 3rd or 4th down or in the red zone, they put those 8 men in the box and they shut it down. And like although they're bad against the run overall, like in terms of, they're near the bottom of the league in terms of how many yards they've given up, they've only given up 4 touchdowns rushing, which is like 3rd, 4th, something like that in the league. And in terms of stopping 3rd and 4th down conversions, they're 2nd in the league in stopping 3rd downs and 1st in the league in stopping 4th downs. So, it's cliche as that bend but don't break thing has been. That's what they've been doing. They let teams run and they shut down the pass as best, or come close to it. They do, shutdown might be a little strong, but they're good against the pass. They let teams run. They force turnovers, and if they don't get a turnover or force a 3 and out before they get to the red zone, then they clamp down with the 8 men in the box. But what's also worked in the Cardinals' favor is even though they give up all these running yards in all but like 2 or all but 3 games this year, I would say they built up big leads. And the other team has to give up the run. They have to abandon the run because when you're down by 2 scores and you're trying in the second half and you're trying to catch up, you start throwing the ball more. So them giving up the run, it's a little misleading, a little deceptive. And the reason it mattered so much in the Niners game is because it was close. And the reason it matters so much in the Packers game is the Cardinals were playing from behind, right? But the Rams ran really well against the Cardinals, but it didn't matter. Right, because Cardinals blew them out. Same with a couple other teams. So, Shanahan's really good at scheming the run. So that's absolutely something that if the Niners win this game, that's going to be a key to the win is running the ball well and keeping it close. But that's why I'm so interested about the Niners defense against the Cardinals offense, because if the Cardinals offense passing and everything can put up some points, and then they get a lead on the Niners by a couple touchdowns, then the Niners are going to have to pass more. And that the being good in the running game isn't going to help you if you're down by 2 or 3 scores in the second half.
Yeah, I guess I've seen what you're talking about. When it comes to you guys having a lead, most of them have to abandon the running game because they got to pass and catch on quickly. But just to be fair, like if we were to play a very close game, it can come down to the running game too.
No, if you keep it close, the running game still, and that's last time we played, we did a couple collabs, and I talked about that. It's like I think I even talked about the game script for the 49ers to win against the Cardinals is to run the ball well and have your defense be able to keep the game close and maybe even force a turnover or 2. If you can keep the game close, then you can keep running and have a chance to win. But if you can't stop the Cardinals offense and they start, most teams haven't been able to, right? Your team is like your team's really the only team that's really kept them under 20 points, right? So if you can't do that and the Cardinals get ahead of you, then they're good against the pass and it's going to be hard to get into it. But if you can keep it close, that running game will be key, right? It's all about keeping it close for this game.
Yeah, keeping the game close or at least having a lead around fourth quarter to where maybe you could run the clock. But
Right.
but a lot of teams this season haven't really played as close to the Cardinals as quite a few other teams. Like us, we've been able to keep you guys under 20 points. So that would be the key to making sure we can play a close game. But now that we got to capitalize, that's going to be the one thing, because with Trey Lance, that 1 week we had you guys, he was going through the growing pain experience. And it was, I think, once he gets the reps and all that down the road or starts to learn this offense quickly like he's supposed to, it won't be too big for him. But with Jimmy Garoppolo, you're going to get a guy who's going to be a little bit accurate. But he may be able to – he may not do a lot that Trey Lance can do, but he can at least move the ball down the field a little bit.
Yeah.
He won't do too much, but maybe as a runner you may not like it, but he runs like Forrest Gump out there.
Yeah, with Jimmy, it's interesting because like Trey Lance was not effective throwing the ball against the Cardinals, but he ran a lot. In fact, like the Niners put up a lot of rushing yards, but most of that, was Trey Lance. So the running backs only ran like 11 times. They were effective when they ran, but it was mostly the quarterback. With Jimmy, it's a different game, right? He's not going to be running like Trey Lance was. So it's interesting. Does that mean the Niners are going to stick to the run with the running backs more? The Cardinals have been good against the pass. If Jimmy G can't run when, on those third downs to get the first down conversion, is that going to be good? Or, I don't know. I could see it being a situation where Lance was a better matchup against the Cardinals because he can use his legs worse, and the Cardinals are good against the pass. And Jimmy G, being more of a conventional pocket quarterback against a defense that's good against the pass, maybe might struggle. There's so many ways the game could go, right? Until they play it, it's hard to know which direction it's going to go.
Yeah, so it's like you've been saying, you've been putting it in good facts. Like as long as you play a close game, that's where you can use the running game as a factor. But like if you're far behind, of course you're going to want to throw the ball. So it's like you want to get those quick scores and catch on. But teams like Green Bay and us, we've been able to use that formula against you guys. And then the Rams were able to do it, but then they were far behind. So
right.
That's
Well, the formula involves you have to be able to slow down the Cardinals offense, right? Which you guys did. And Green Bay, they got a few turnovers. Some of them, one of them was on special teams, that muff punt by Rondale Moore. But Green Bay was able to get a lead, but it happened both of the times. It happened because the Cardinals offense was slowed down, and the Cardinals offense has only been slowed down like that 2 games this year. Every other game they were over 30 points. So, but Kyler's banged up. There's some other players banged up. So, maybe that happens again. It's hard to know until they play it, like they say.
Well, you guys are not gonna you're gonna have AJ Green out, so that's gonna be a difference maker. But then there's chances of DeAndre Hopkins maybe being out. That can really cripple a little bit of your offense. And then there's maybe a possibility that your starting quarterback will be out also. And then that's why you got Colt McCoy for doing practices with the first team. So it's like I'm getting a gut feeling that Murray's going to play, either if he's not 100% or not.
I think he probably will play. I mean, they might rest him, but what we're hearing seems to suggest people think he's going to play. So you know how it is, though. Like we kind of think about how we think the games are going to go, and we kind of figure it out in our head, rationalize this is how the game could go, and then they play the game, and weird things happen. Like backup quarterbacks throw for 400 yards sometimes. It just things happen that you don't expect to have happen. So we could, we have ideas about how it should go from both sides, but when they play the game, sometimes the script just goes out the window.
Yeah. So like any weird stuff, like we've seen what happened with the backup quarterback from the Jets. Like, wow, they're throwing up 300 yards or 400 yards passing.
Yeah.
I guess Josh Johnson threw in some 300 yards passing, even as and then you got Colt McCoy. Maybe he might go off because there's not much game film on him from a while back. So it's like, it's tough to film this guy.
He's a veteran quarterback, and they still have weapons. Rondale Moore has had a big game. Christian Kirk's had a big game. So that can happen. And what could also happen is they get shut down. It's just so many, sometimes just weird things happen. So you just, again, that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to predict what we think will happen, but it just doesn't always go the way we think it will,
Yeah, especially, when you look at when you've seen how it happens with these backup quarterbacks, it's unexpected. I didn't think for a minute that the Jets, their backup quarterback, just put up some numbers. Like, I remember this guy, Josh Johnson, was a backup quarterback and actually was drafted by the Bucs, but now he's getting a chance to play, and then they got this Mike White guy. So maybe there's hope with Colt McCoy if you play him.
I mean, it's possible, right? And then, weirder things have happened.
Yeah, weirder things have happened, especially our running game. It's like, who would have thought that we would still have a 100-yard rusher without Mostert? I never thought it that way. And I was thinking Elijah Mitchell, we just drafted this guy in the 6th round out of Louisiana Lafayette. And I thought Trey Sermon was supposed to be the guy. That's not the case. He fits the system a lot better than what Trey Sermon fits.
Yeah. And, with running backs, it's even more so. I mean, because you do have so many late round picks who get in the right situation with, and even undrafted free agents. I mean, Shanahan has had guys who were undrafted free agents who he's turned into really good running backs in his system. So you just never know, right?
Yeah, but this guy's a 6th round pick. So yeah, I guess you can say whatever late round undrafted. Yeah. Even his dad was able to find a running back like a Terrell Davis in the 6th round.
Yeah. No, that's part of the reason why I'm kind of a big believer in don't draft running backs early. I mean, sure, you get a 1st-round running back, they're better, but look at the 1st-round running backs, like Saquon Barkley's been injured and banged up. Christian McCaffrey. Hey, Peo time. What's up, Zach? Good to see you, man.
Hey, Peo.
You got guys like, Christian McCaffrey who's been good but injured, and it's just like, and then but there's so many really good running backs in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, even 6th round. Build your offensive line, draft the quarterback or the running backs late, and go that way.
That's how you should do it, because why invest early on a running back when you can find them in the late round? Just find the ones who would fit your system and actually plug in right away. And then that's how it should work. But most of them like to go high on these running backs because of their talent. You're not going to find a lot of these Marshall Falks. You're not going to find a lot of these Adrian Petersons and all these backs. You might as well wait until maybe this. I don't know about getting one in the second round anymore. I think you can wait until the third or maybe fourth round to get one.
Yeah, I mean, there's you look at some of the best running backs in the league. Some of the best ones are second round picks. Dalvin Cook, Henry, there's some Derrick Henry. There's really good running backs in the second round, but at the same time, again, I'd probably rather use those first and second round picks on offensive linemen who, if you get a good one, will play for your team for 10 years, right? And running backs, they got like 6 years in them if you're lucky before they really kind of fall off, with rare exceptions. So, yeah, build that offensive line. Like, look at what the Cardinals have done. Our running game isn't elite, but it's been effective. We signed James Conner for a budget deal. We have, Chase Edmonds was a 4th round pick, right? And obviously you see what the Niners have done. Like, they haven't, under Shanahan, they haven't used early picks on running backs. They've built that offensive line, and he always has a good running game. So, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and the surprising part was we were able to get one at third round. We're not even using them as much. So it's like usually we're better off getting one in the late round. So you see a lot of this value with Shanahan. Like, we should be able to value linemen. Like, I agree on your draft strategy. Wait until maybe later rounds to get a running back, because all you got to do is just get an offensive line and build a scheme that fits this guy's skill set. And then if you can get him in this late round, take him, and then maybe you got yourself a good steal. Maybe he'll be good for maybe 6 to 10 years, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So, what are your thoughts on George Kittle? Do you feel like he's going to play? If so, do you feel like he's ready to be effective, or is he still kind of banged up?
I think he's just a little banged up, but I think from what I'm looking at the conference, he looks like he's ready to play. So I don't think he'll be much as effective like he is. I think he'll be like good enough to do the blocking and maybe a little bit as a catcher, but I don't expect him to be effective right away off the bat because he's coming off a calf tendon, so it takes time for him to shake it off. But he might come off, so I wouldn't be surprised, because usually when he comes off of those injuries, he comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So, are you guys excited for a division game? Absolutely. I'm going to be at that game.
Oh, nice. I'm anxious about this game. I mean, I'm excited to watch a game, but I'm anxious because how are the Cardinals going to respond to their first loss of the season? A loss that came in really heartbreaking fashion when, it looked like we were going to win, and then that obviously we all seen what happened with the miscue with Kyler Murray and AJ Green. So, like, I'm anxious, and then obviously, Kyler's a little banged up. So I'm anxious to see, do the Cardinals, is this like a get right game, a rebound game for the Cardinals, where they get back on track and they fix stuff and then they hit another, strong stretch? Or is this going to be another loss where the Cardinals are going through their valley, right? The tough stretch, right? So was Green Bay a blip, or the start of that rough stretch of the season? And most teams have a rough stretch where they lose a game or two. And is that what this is, or are the Cardinals are they gonna hit another wave of winning? And it obviously it can go either way. So I'm anxious and nervous to see which of those it is.
Yeah, I mean, last year we seen what happened with your squad when they were winning, and then as soon as they lose, they start to fall off a little here and there, but then they start to come around. I think it's one of those kind of games, like you're saying, that maybe it will come up to maybe another loss or two, or maybe just a bounce back, one of the two. Mm-hmm. But it wouldn't surprise me if you guys do fall off for some reason. It's like sometimes that's what happens. Like we were like 2-0. Mm-hmm. And then the moment Green Bay beat us, we went down. And it happens to be the same team you guys lost to. So it's like, wow. It's like, but then to be fair with you guys are a more complete team. And I'm pretty sure you got the better coach staff to get everything together. But when you look at the matchup, to be fair, it was on a Thursday, short week. What do you
I mean,
expect from a yeah?
those games are always weird, right? So like,
Mhm.
I mean, the optimistic, right, the read of that game. When you look at that the Cardinals lost on Thursday, the optimistic look at that is okay. On a Thursday night game, so short week, the Cardinals lost to a good team that is currently tied for the best record in the NFL with the Cardinals now in Green Bay, with a reigning MVP at quarterback, in a game where the Cardinals didn't play particularly well, yet almost won, and only lost because of kind of a bad miscue play, right? It was so close against a good team in a weird situation, missing our we had some injuries. I know Green Bay did as well. They had, but like with all that going on, it's like, and the Cardinals almost won. So that's the positive of it. Hey, Seahawks Eddie, thank you. How you doing? Good to see you, man. So that's the positive spin, right? That the Cardinals almost won that game, right? And under with all that, but yeah, I mean, I'm anxious to see what happens, right?
Yeah, I think the positive side of that game is, well, on the positive side, you guys were in position to win, but on the negative side, they didn't have much of their receivers, and then Rodgers makes anybody look good. Let's be fair about it. Like, these guys can come off the practice squad or come off the retirement, and he'll make them into studs. So it's like if you need to pick a quarterback who can make the lesser known talent players look good, go with Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. It doesn't matter. You're going to be a bona fide stud. So it's like, I guess that's the fair argument.
And I kind of talked about this too earlier, but like, just from game to game, things don't progress linearly in the NFL. It's not like this situation where like you can say, oh, okay, well, man, the Packers were minus all these receivers, and the Cardinals lost to the Packers when the Packers were minus all their best playmakers. So obviously the Cardinals must suck. Well, no, I mean, it's just a weird things happen. I mean, the Cardinals, the same Cardinals team that lost with the Packers really hobbled in terms of their playmakers, also dominated, sorry, Payotan, but dominated the Rams, right? Completely dominated. But then the same Cardinals team that completely dominated the Rams barely eked out a win against the 49ers with a rookie quarterback, right? So it's not, you can't just take from one game to the next and extrapolate and say, well, they did this in this game, that means this is going to happen, because there's a lot of variance from games to game, right? Just weird matchups happen. Players have off games, injuries. And so it's like, that's why it's just so hard to predict what's going to happen from just because you look based on what happened in a previous matchup. I mean, maybe this game looks like it did in the last game, but I have a feeling this Niners Cardinals game is look very different than the last one.
It's probably going to be a lot. Yeah, it's probably going to be a lot different with the matchup because if I'm mistaken correctly, the last time we matched up with you guys, we didn't have George Kittle. We didn't have much of our other players. You didn't have your cornerback, so that might be the difference maker right there. So I guess Byron Murphy being out kind of did.
I'm waiting for that rematch. That's going to be one of the best games of the year. I mean, that's the story. I'll tell you what, the Rams Cardinals late season, the build up to that, I think when you look at like all the narratives and storylines and Cardinals, having been, 0-8 against McVay and then winning in the fashion they did. And there's a good likelihood the division is still going to be up for grabs. I mean, I think our teams will be fighting it out till then. So that Cardinals-Rams game late season is projecting to be arguably one of the better games on the schedule in the NFL overall. Anyway, sorry.
Well, division-wise, yeah. But I feel like the Niners and Cardinals always bring up a good competition despite the record. Yeah. But the Rams and Cardinals do bring up some good intense rivalry also. But then
I guess I'm talking about like how the buzz around the game. Right around, like how like in terms of the fans across the league are going to look at that game and say, that's a big matchup, right? That's what I mean. But like how the game plays out, I mean, the Cardinals Niners game was a more competitive game than the Cardinals Rams game was this year, right? So
yeah. Do I think that the Niners will take the wild card? I don't know. I can't predict. We have to beat the Cardinals and maybe beating the Rams and then maybe build momentum for me to think. So at the moment, I'm taking one game at a time. I'm not getting too ahead of myself. I'm I'm thinking realistically. I think the reason why you're hyped by the Cardinals and Rams is because Grandpa Cardinal and those other from Tom Grossi show. That's the best hype right there. That's the only best hype about that division.
That I'll tell you that Tom Grossi stuff has been fun.
Yeah,
Watch.
it's funny as heck.
I mean, right now when you look at the wild card, there's going to be 3 wild cards, right? So you've got right now as it stands, it's the Rams, the Saints, and the Panthers are probably the right now if it ended today. But like the Panthers are 4-4, and the Niners are 3-4. So that last wild card spot, there's a lot of 3-win teams out there that are all kind of trying to jockey with Carolina. Niners are in it still. I mean, they got to start winning more games, but right now there's still a good chance.
Yeah, just winning this game and actually winning the Rams and going into it, that's what favors us. But right now, we still got to do one game at a time. So I feel like I feel like we're not out of the picture for the 7th seed for right now. I think we're more focused on winning games first. So, to be fair, I feel like this is going to be the determined factor of the season. If we can't beat you guys, then this is going to be a long season. I feel like this is a tough stretch. If we can't beat you guys, then what do we got to prove?
Yeah, I mean, your schedule. I'm looking at your schedule. You got Cardinals and Rams, so that's a tough stretch for you. But then got the Jaguars after that. That shouldn't be, that's a winnable game. Vikings are tougher than their record. You got them. Seahawks. I don't know if Wilson will be back by then. Bengals. Bengals are good. They're tough now.
They're tough.
You got the Falcons. That's a winnable team, but they're frisky. You got the Titans. That's a tough game. They've turned things around. You have the Texans then, and then you got the Rams again. Your schedule's not easy. There's a few easy games on there, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games on there. 5 or 6 games on there that the Niners will probably not be favored in, So,
yeah, by the matchups. Yeah, the way we're playing, I don't know. It's like if we couldn't do nothing to the Colts, then what makes you think we can do anything against those other teams?
It's going to be it's going to be tough. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you can make an argument about the Jaguars and Colts being a favorable game, and then you got all the rest of them. But it's like it's any given Sunday, so anything can happen.
Weird things happen. The Cardinals actually have one of their easier stretches coming up. I mean, a lot, and I hate to say it, but a lot of people see the Niners as not one of the tougher matchups. I think this game could be tough because of we're coming into it kind of injured. But after you guys, we have the Panthers, which are kind of middle. Seahawks probably without Russell Wilson. Bears. We'll have the Rams again, but then we got the Lions. They shouldn't be tough. The Colts are kind of tricky. I think we beat them. The Cowboys will be a tough matchup. And then the Seahawks, week 17, who knows what's going on there. So
it's one or the other.
Yeah.
I think down the stretch, those will be the only tough game. But the only tough game I see is mostly the division will give you a tough one. But then when you look at down the stretch, Cowboys are looking good this year. So that can be the more intriguing matchup is you guys versus Dallas for that top ranked NFC seed or something.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of games between now and then, but that's one you're circling on the schedule. That and the Rams game is 2 really interesting ones. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
It could be a different outcome this time because last time you guys played the Rams, you guys were able to dominate them, and this time they might be more ready. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah, I don't expect that second Rams game to go down the way the first one did. I think they'll be a lot more prepared for what the Cardinals are doing.
Yeah, I think they're going to be able to start on early leads and be able to hold on to it a little bit and then maybe make it more closer than expected.
Yeah. Yep. So how do you see the quarterback situation playing out with the Niners for the rest of the year? Based on where things are at and what you've seen, what are you kind of expecting with that?
Well, it's 50-50. As far as Jimmy Garoppolo, Jimmy Garoppolo is on a short leash, but he has not been benched. So it's I don't know. It's depending on what happens. But if it doesn't get any better down the stretch, then it wouldn't surprise me if they just bench Jimmy and let Trey Lance play the rest of the way. But at the moment, they're just sticking with Jimmy. But it wouldn't surprise me if they eventually bench him.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why you drafted this kid as a number 3 pick to replace this guy. So it's kind of like wait and see, because every time I look at the conference of what they're saying, well, we didn't draft Trey to be the starter right away. We want him to be ready when he's ready. But when they threw him out there, he looked like he needed some more experience, but it's not the case. And then you look at guys like Steve Young and Alex Smith arguing and debating about what's better for the rookie quarterback. And he said, I guess Steve Young was putting it like this: well, he needs to play. He needs more experience. And then Alex Smith says, no, he needs to sit and learn. One or the other, and they're arguing and debating. It's kind of interesting how they're going at each other with this argument at the Monday Night Football. I don't know if you saw that part where they were debating or something.
I didn't see that part, but yeah, I mean that is kind of a general debate. Is a quarterback better to sit, or do you just need to throw him to the fire? And it's tough because you see examples that have played out in a lot of different ways. You see, like, and I'll use Kyler Murray started from game 1 and has, and was one offensive rookie of the year and was good in his rookie as a rookie quarterback, and and it hasn't impeded his progress. Right? He's developed and taken a step forward this year. But then you see a guy like Aaron Rodgers who sat and then came in and was a stud, right? And potentially benefited. Now, we don't know how he would have played if they started right away. Then you have guys like David Carr who start right away, get beat up, and a lot of people think he might have been a better quarterback if he didn't have to get sacked all those times in Houston early in his career, right? And did that affect his career? Then you have a guy like Peyton Manning who his rookie season started and struggled, but then turned it around. So every kind of path you can imagine, we've seen examples. So it's hard to know, is it better for Trey Lance to sit, or do you throw him to the wolves? And my opinion is, with a guy like Trey Lance who didn't play a lot in college, I do think you're better off to sit him at least half of his rookie season, if not all of it. Let him get acclimated to the playbook. Let him get more practice reps in practice, and then get him in there and start. Because he just, because what I would worry about with him is because he has so few reps starting in college, you worry about him developing bad habits if you throw him into a bad situation, because he hasn't had enough reps to develop those good habits. With a quarterback who started more in college, maybe they already have worked out their good habits, so to speak. So I don't know. I mean, there's people who know a lot more about that than me, but my opinion, for what it's worth, is I think the right path for Trey Lance involved him sitting at least part of his rookie year, which he has done. So hopefully that works for Niners fans. Hopefully that works out for you.
Yeah, I would think that's exactly what we're expecting it to be, maybe like a Patrick Mahomes and an Alex Smith situation, or a Rodgers, or any of those, but it's a different situation because Jimmy Garoppolo's hurt. Trey Lance got to play some snaps, and then Trey Lance got sprinkled in some plays. So maybe that's what we're trying to do, is get this kid some more reps on the field, maybe do some trick plays, but maybe they need to stop using those run plays and start using them on some throwing plays at least,
Yeah, obviously against the Cardinals, I don't know if it was his first throw. One of his first throws was an interception to Budda Baker. So, but I think that's part of the reason they went away from the pass, that it was early on it struggled. But what are you most worried about in the matchup against the Cardinals? When you look at this game and you're like, well, if this thing goes really, if this thing really quickly goes in the Cardinals' direction and the Niners get blown out, it's because of what?
Because of Jimmy Garoppolo. I feel like if everything has to be perfect for Jimmy Garoppolo for this, the line's got to block good, the running game's got to work, or the decision making by Garoppolo may concern me. I feel like our defense could do their job. I feel like our offense can be consistent, but it all depends on Jimmy Garoppolo.
So if he starts throwing interceptions or fumbling the ball and the Cardinals get turnovers, and even if your defense is doing their job, Cardinals put up points. And okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it goes on Jimmy Garoppolo, because this game kind of determines whether he can step up in this situation or not. Because you guys are going to probably be able to stack that box a little bit on the running game. You're going to force Jimmy to throw the ball more, so that might be the one that may worry me a little bit. If
Mhm.
Jimmy throws the ball a lot and creates some turnovers, that's going to concern me a little bit more.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
So what would concern you? Like, let's say, for example, if this outcome came a little bit of a struggle for you guys and we're in position to at least get closer to winning the game, what would be your concerning factor for the Cardinals?
So for me, it's does your defense is your defense able to put consistent pressure on Kyler Murray? Because Rodney Hudson is supposed to be back. They just brought him off the IR, and also Justin Murray, one of our other guy who was starting at guard for us, has just got off IR. So hopefully our offensive line is healthier. But like the thing that when the Cardinals offense has sputtered and not been able to put up points, it's because they've been getting into these third and long situations. Sometimes it's because of a bad snap with backup centers. Sometimes it's because of false start penalties on the Cardinals and they end up getting pushed back. But sometimes it's because teams get pressure on Kyler Murray and either he has to throw it away or even gets a sack or there's a holding. So if the Niners defense is able to put the Cardinals in those third and long situations, the bigger what that also concerns me is because his ankle is kind of banged up. What he's been able to do this year is when he gets into 3rd and 15, sometimes he makes those plays. He runs around, buys extra time, finds the open receiver, throws it, and a big play. But with his banged up ankle, if the Niners are able to get pressure and put them in those third and long situations, I'm worried that I don't think Kyler's ankle is going to be. It's going to be harder for him to make those big plays. So that's to me, that's the thing. Like because the Niners are going to be able to run most likely, right? So that's going to happen. So what needs to happen is the Cardinals need to get a lead so that the Niners can't. So the running doesn't matter, right? And if the Niners can put pressure on Kyler and they get him in those third and long situations, the offense might sputter, and that's when it's stagnated. That's why, largely. So if that happens and it's a close game, then we talked about earlier. So
yeah, that could be another worry for you guys in the third and long with Kyler with a bang ankle a little bit. But then to make a fair argument, wouldn't it be kind of a simple capitalize for our secondary to give you guys some free yards? Like that's been my concern also is the secondary.
Well, aren't your safeties injured? That's what someone Jay was saying that.
Oh yeah, Jimmy Ward is he's out for this game, I believe. And then we got, I think with the depth we got right now is Tavon Wilson. He's been a journeyman safety, played with the Patriots, played with the Colts and the Lions. He's got the similar skill set like a Jimmy Ward, but a little older. I feel like Jimmy Ward, even though he's gone at this game, it kind of changes a little bit of our defense a little. But I feel like Tavon Wilson is kind of exactly the similar of Jimmy Ward, if not the same, but better. Maybe because of his savviness and the way he gets the interception at times. But I look at him and I'm thinking, Tavon is not that bad. I think he can really play the nickel also, just like Jimmy Ward does. And he can cover up the field a little bit. But then when you look at Talanoa Hufanga, even though Tart is gone and not the same player, I feel like Hufanga can make the tackles and make up for it.
Yeah. So and if they're putting pressure on the Cardinals, Kyler doesn't have enough time to get the throw out there. It doesn't matter. It almost doesn't matter who's out there covering. So, for me, what I want to see the Cardinals do is run the ball more so that they put Kyler in 3rd and 3 situations instead of 3rd and 13 situations, so that he doesn't have to, try to throw those deep passes. He can make more shorter passes and get the ball out quickly so that the Niners can't, bring the pressure and get home on him. So we'll see.
Yeah, because if it's third and short, that's where we struggled the most. And you guys can just either run the ball or either just throw in a short pass, and it's an easy first down because that's been our issue. But if it's third and long, we might be able to hold on a little bit.
Yeah, with Kyler's bum ankle, it's going to be a lot easier if you get us in 3rd and longs for sure. Okay,
so name one player that needs to step up for this matchup against the Niners to be the X factor.
Okay. That's a good question. I'm gonna say Isaiah Simmons, and that was who I picked as the player that I think is when I talked to Jay last night, who I thought was the bigger player, but biggest defensive player for the team. But Simmons is a guy, if Kittle is healthy, is a guy who's going to probably cover him a lot, right? And if he's a guy who's rangy, and if we're going to want, he's the guy who stopped Trey Lance at the goal line last time we played. He's a guy who hasn't been our best run defender, but he can make plays against the running game. To me, we need him to step up in terms of making plays on the defensive side. I would have said Rodney Hudson, but Rodney Hudson just needs to be healthy because he doesn't need to step up because he's a stud. He plays really well when he's healthy, so he doesn't need to step up. He needs to do what he's been doing. He just needs to be on the field, right? And I'm hoping that him being healthy will really help that offensive line and help the offense to go.
Yeah, I'm just as far as the X factor, I know a lot of you guys are probably going to focus on Debo. I'm hoping that Ayuk starts to step in and makes the plays and makes up for the fact that they might focus on Debo more. Maybe he'll be the X factor. I feel like if he makes the plays and makes the difference, and I think that our offense could be able to pass the ball a little here and there. I do feel like if we do that, I think we have a chance to play a lot closer. I know our running game is going to be a huge factor also, but I feel like Brandon Ayuk has to play his best game because that's where you guys are going to focus on covering Debo more.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that could be a big, that could really help. I mean, Debo has been really good this year. So the Cardinals, though, have been pretty good against the pass. I mean, the Cardinals have played some good receivers too. Minnesota has a pair of really good receivers. Tennessee has a pair of good receivers. We know the Rams have good receivers. And the Cardinals have held up against good receivers. It's been the run game, right, that's mattered. So, that no receiver has completely exploded, for like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Cardinals yet. Doesn't mean it can't happen. But the Cardinals have done a reasonable job of containing even good receivers, or at least keeping them from completely going off. So we'll see how it plays out, though.
Okay, so let's get to your final prediction, and we can end the stream from here.
Final prediction, I'm assuming Kyler plays. Obviously, I'm a Cardinals fan, so I'm going to, got to be optimistic. I'm going to say 24-17.
24-17, so it'll be like okay. So you got your Cardinals winning by a field goal, 20-17.
Or 24-17 by a touchdown, yeah.
Oh, okay, by a touchdown? Okay. Yeah. I feel like this can come down to the wire. Like, I even feel even if Kyler Murray's not 100%, I still think even with him out there is better than having Colt McCoy. I feel like if you put Colt McCoy out there, I think he's going to concern me a little bit because we've seen what backup quarterbacks can do. Give me Kyler Murray. That's what I would look. So if Kyler Murray's out there, which I believe he will, I can see it come as a 23-20 game. Niners. I feel like that could be the game right there. Even if you don't have Hopkins or Green, I still think you guys will still play a good game. But I feel like if you put Colt McCoy, that could be the unknown factor. So
if it's McCoy, you think it's 34-12 Cardinals, right?
I think it could be like a 30 game, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
It could because you don't know what to expect. Sometimes those backup quarterbacks come out of nowhere.
Right.
So give me Kyler at this point.
You're right. At least the devil you know, as they say, right?
Yeah, the devil you know.
It'd be interesting. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching the game. I'm really, like I said, though, I am anxious about this one.
Yeah, I'm going to be out there, so I'll probably just do a game day vlog when I'm out there at the tailgate and then go out to the stadium.
Nice. Awesome.
All right, man. So anybody else who hasn't subscribed to Cardinal Rule, it's on my description. So check out his channel and check out his breakdowns. He does little breakdowns on his Cardinals and tells you a lot that you need to know about the team in general.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, it's always good hanging out with you, CG. Always a good time.
It's always a good time talking football with you. You know what you're talking about. You're the professor, so you got a little of your analytics, man. I get it.
Yeah. Got to do my thing, right?
Yeah, man. All right, man. Take it easy, bro. All
right, you too. Peace.
Peace. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, go Niners.